So, who's probably the most underthought about player coming into the 2020 season for the Dawgs? I've got that for you here as we go on YouTube. Dean Legge from Dog Post, making you a smarter Georgia fan. You know the slogan. Why aren't you visiting the site? You probably are. Richard LeCounte. Let's talk about Richard LeCounte. This is a guy that was the first guy I got on the phone after Kirby got the job at Georgia. He had just committed to the Dawgs. It was really an important piece to the puzzle for Kirby and company. This wasn't a situation that they sort of inherited like some of the guys from the 2016 class. The 2017 group, which was Richard and company, this is their final season at Georgia. And at the time, a lot of the folks on Dog Post were wondering, hey, is Kirby focusing too much on recruiting after the 2016 season, the 2016 class, which started the 2016 season? That was like Jacob Eason, Julian Rochester, Isaac Nada, those guys, Miko Hardman. Those were really good players, but his program was really built on guys like Richard LeCounte, etc. I think we've seen the maturation of Richard LeCounte on the field really become evident this past sort of 12 months. You saw J.R. Reed he's a captain of the team at the time, decided not to play in the Sugar Bowl. That was to get ready for the NFL draft. Turns out J.R. doesn't get drafted. It's too bad. But Richard was the guy that played in that game, decided not to leave early. It wasn't good for him to leave early. But in that moment, forget J.R. In that moment, Richard really was bringing together a secondary that had lost a leader in J.R., okay? J.R. Reed had come along and really helped become the cement for that defensive backfield that's been really good for Georgia, but it was young. He was an older guy. In steps in Richard LeCounte. And if you deal with Richard at all, and we met him as a sophomore in high school, if you deal with Richard at all, it's hard to... he still looks like a baby sometimes with the braces that he had for such a long time. But he will knock you out. And that was a little bit of a problem over time, was that he was looking to knock people out. But from the Florida game on in 2019, he really started playing well. Not crazy Richard LeCounte. Like solid, going to be a first 3-round draft pick, maybe higher, top 100 player in the NFL draft kind of guy. And there risks weren't being taken as often. He played his position, and you saw, it culminated in the Sugar Bowl, but you saw with the turnovers that he got, particularly in the Sugar Bowl, the leadership that he provided heading into the Sugar Bowl. You had a lot of guys not play in that game, whether they were older or they were just going into the draft or whatever. You had suspensions. There were a lot of issues. It did not look good going into that game. They were dealing with a top 10 Baylor team. And it's hard to put like one thing on, oh, this is what won them the game. But I do think that him, just after Georgia got there, sending out a social media thing, I think it was on Twitter, with him and all the other DBs, it wasn't the social media part of it. It was that he got the guys together. He was the new leader. And when you have guys who are that invested in the program, that are that invested in themselves, I think that shows that they are not willing to let it go. They want to win. And I can still remember, because I pulled over, I was driving when I talked to Richard and he had committed to Kirby, how excited he was and how he was talking about they were going to bring championships back to Georgia. Well, they've done that. They won the SEC. They won multiple division championships. They won the Rose, the Sugar. It was just the Rose and the Sugar, now that I think about it, which are not in consequential games, by the way. But those really, Richard and company were the foundation. And now we're seeing that, Richard's not just the foundation anymore. Yes, he is that. And yes, he's going to really have to play well in 2020 for Georgia to be as good as, some of us think they should be. But it's the growth that he's had. He's not crazy Richard anymore. He's not, we're waiting for him to do cartwheels and stuff after he makes a big play. He just makes a big play. And he did that a lot at the end of the season. And I think he's a key to this 2020 season for the Dawgs. If you want to learn more about Georgia and their 2020 season, there's a list right up here. You can see it. Make sure to click on that. It will get you ready for the 2020 season for the Dogs, and we'll be there before you know it. I mean, it's not going to be summer forever.